Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Don't be a fool, look to Rome. I would rather be a fool than a traitor or a killer.
I am a soldier.
Yes, who kills for Rome, and Rome is evil.
I warn you.
No! I warn you. Rome is an affront to God. Rome is strangling my people and my country, the whole earth.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're live on September the 12th. It's around about 9:15 if you're listening to us live, and that music is just music to my ears, that intro, because for the last couple of weeks it's been random. Because I don't actually have my computer does not like the Spreaker terminal on the website. It only likes the Spreaker app on the desktop. So we've not had the normal intro music for the last few weeks. And we have not had Andrew either. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I'm back as well, by the way, yeah.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the music being back, to be honest. I miss that music.
Yeah, I just edit it, you know.
I
do all that. I'm not just a pretty face on radio.
I don't have a hard copy of that music, so it's not that I can sort of like
do you not?
It
I thought you did.
But no, I don't. Because it's been about 2.5 years now since I last did the show properly, helmed the show. Behind the scenes kind of technical wizardry kind of stuff. But yeah,
I'm a wizard.
Yeah, when I do the show when you're not here, I use the Spreaker console on the desktop, and I don't have the intro music, so I have to use the intro music from Following the Gamer. It's a good job. It's got no swearing or anything like that in the intro music.
Yeah, we should have to do one of those announcements like Channel 4. This is Davina. Please do not swear. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the following music is a deviation from the normal. Please do not adjust your radio. Sounds like the Outer Limits, that actually. Anyway, we're here to actually review films in the cinema section. We've got quite a few, yet on Blu-ray and DVD we don't.
I'm just distracted now, thinking, what is the whole thing about limits? You're travelling to another dimension of sight. A dimension of sight? No, what is it? Dimension of? Oh, I don't know.
Sight and sound or something like that. We control the horizontal and vertical. Everything you will see over the next 45 minutes. Something in that region. Anyway.
That's really quite sad that you can remember that bit as well.
I love the Outer Limits though. But yeah, cinema section, films we're looking at on this week's show, the new stuff.
Yeah, quite a lot of films this week. It's been overall kind of fairly good week, I think. We'll see. Starting off, of course, though, we have a big movie there. You heard in the opening credits the classic 1959 Ben-Hur. We have the remake, which is out this week. We also have Hell or High Water. Kubo and is it Kubo or Kubo? Kubo and the Two Strings. Captain Fantastic, Don't Breathe, and Anthropoid.
Which is a slightly weird title, but there's an understanding behind that title. You'll find out during the review.
I'm sure there's going to be a way you can arrange those titles in order that they'll make a really weird sentence or something.
Ben-Hur, don't breathe or you'll be stuck in hell or high water. You need the help from Kubo and its Two Strings to bring along Captain Fantastic and go up against the Anthropoids from another dimension.
I wasn't actually expecting you to do it. That was kind of lame.
But that was actually off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's probably why it was lame.
No, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Blu-ray and DVD, we're looking at these films.
We have the sequel to Bad Neighbours, or if you saw it in America, Neighbours with Bad Neighbours 2, or as it's called in America, Neighbours 2 Sorority Rising. And then we also have a couple of the films with Our Kind of Traitor and I Saw the Light.
Yeah, TV movie of the week.
Not I Saw the Devil, as you thought earlier.
Shut up. That's a different film anyway. It's a horror film, so I don't know why I've got that written down. The overall movie of the week, the UK box office top 10, but movie news, and I'm actually going first, which is rare when it's just me and you on the show, because starting off with some sad news, again, the loss of an actor/actress. In this case, prefers to actually be called actress, but transgender, Alexis Arquette, who we've seen in multiple different forms, but over the last 5-6 years prefers to be female. So very much like what's happened to the Wachowskis. They've gone from being brothers to now being sisters. So unfortunately, Alexis Arquette passed away on Sunday morning at the age of only 47. People will know her as being the sister of David Arquette and Patricia Arquette as well.
And Rosanna. And Rosanna Arquette as well.
Yeah, and I know her as being when she was a male in Bride of Chucky. So, and dressed up as a goth, getting the ring ripped out of her lip as well, and also being in The Wedding Singer and films like that. So
yeah, if anyone is ever wondering who they were in films, because they had lots of film roles and TV roles. It was As a Man was in Pulp Fiction as the guy that came out running "Die You Mothers, Bang 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 Bang."
Yeah, and like I said, for me, it was known as in Bride of Chucky. But always Alexis Arquette was always known for having a very striking appearance and didn't actually care what people thought of him and then ultimately her. So it always sort of like a forefront of people who ultimately came out and just go, you know what, I'm not happy with my body, I'm going to actually change myself in the public eye, rather than in a way, no offense to the Wachowskis, but they sort of like did it in the background. And the second Wachowski brother, when turned into a transgender and ultimately wants to become a female, sort of like did it away from the people. But
they kind of went away from the limelight and then came back different,
Whereas Alexis Arquette didn't actually care. She was always appeared with RuPaul, and again RuPaul was, I would probably say Alexis Arquette looked up to RuPaul, and a lot of people, like in Alexis Arquette's situation, looked up to RuPaul as well. But Alexis Arquette ultimately wanted to become female, and well done to her for doing that. But it's a sad passing for her.
It's been a horrible year for actor and actresses passing away. It's ridiculous the number of that there have been. I mean, just recently as well, we had Gene Wilder and everything as well. So this year has been the worst.
We've got another 3.5 months left.
Yeah, I know.
So there is still time for, unfortunately, more. Another piece of news that broke about 5 minutes before we went on air, and it's just in early talks, but Benicio del Toro is in early talks with 20th Century Fox to star in the reboot of the Predator franchise, which is going to be directed by Shane Black and co-written by Monster Squad scribe Fred Decker.
I have no problem with that. I mean, he's good in that kind of a role. You can imagine him, and I think that would work fine. It's just a thing of, again, it's a reboot of the Predator franchise. It's a case of, how can they mess it up? Because Predator, as much as it wasn't a hit at the time, so I looked into it a bit when I got it and watched a lot of the extra things and stuff on the DVDs, because I really do like Predator. It's one of my favourite kind of Arnie classic films, and it's a film that it didn't really make money when it came out, but it's made money, obviously, because it's kind of built, and people have always gone and got it, and it's God knows how many copies it must have sold on DVD video, and then DVD and Blu-ray, and so it's a film that is one of those great ones, and it's one of those ones that I'm like, yeah, well, how can they mess it up, as remakes generally a lot of the time do. We'll maybe get to that topic in a little while on one of the films.
Yeah, but in the hands of Shane Black.
Yeah.
I think you should actually do really well, because I was just out of curiosity. This is probably one of the biggest gaps I've ever seen between movie scores. But on IMDb, Predator has got a 7.8 star rating, which is the user score rating from people on IMDb from 292,000 votes. It's got a Metascore of only 36.
But it was Metascore's from when it was originally released, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think if you release Predator again now, the way it is didn't do anything to it, and people who hadn't seen it were shown it, I think there'd be a lot more impressed with it, because it's one of those films that has stood the test of time, even with the effects. Yeah. It's a film that hasn't really, apart from obviously the age of the actors, it hasn't really aged. It doesn't have anything in it particularly that kind of sets it and says this is in the 80s so much as it is, obviously you got the whole male machismo sort of thing going on there, and the cheesy dialogue and stuff and things like that, but there's nothing in it that kind of defines and says this is, this time, this is then. There's nothing that really dates it.
Yeah, and like I said, under the guise of Shane Black, I think the film should be fine.
Interesting as well, because Shane Black being involved with it, he actually wrote the original one, He was actually he was casting it because basically they wanted to bring someone in to work on the script while it was being made, and they needed him there, and they couldn't afford to really bring him on, pay him as a writer, so they hired him and paid him as an actor and put him in the film.
And the slight little ray of light from that as well is the fact that Shane Black is teaming up with Fred Dekker again, and could this mean that there might actually be a sequel to the Monster Squad in the sort of like pipeline, or will they be interested in remaking it, or just release it on Blu-ray and DVD in the UK? I have fond memories of the Monster Squad, and it's not available on DVD in this country.
No, I think
it's not available on Blu-ray.
Is it not on one of the streaming programs, one of the streaming apps things?
I don't think it is. No.
I'm sure
the last place that I saw it was on Channel 5, but it was on Channel 5's like machete time, and so when they show like a 15-minute film at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and rip it to shreds. So yeah, I just want it released on Blu-ray and DVD, and then maybe it's a sequel or a reboot. It's rare me seeing that, actually. Other news, it's been confirmed that G.I. Joe 3, I didn't even know it was actually in production, but it's been put on hold due to Dwayne Johnson being too busy. I didn't even know there was actually a G.I. Joe 3 announced.
I didn't either. I thought the second one did really badly. So,
well, lo and behold, the third one is now on hold. So The Rock is more interested in doing things like Baywatch and stuff like that rather than G.I. Joe 3.
He's doing that. He's doing a TV series he does, Ballers, about the American football thing. Because, I mean, as much as I think he's probably finished that now because it's almost finished its second season, I think they're making a third one already.
He's just finished on Fast 8, and there's the rumours of the spin-off for Fast 8 as well.
Yeah.
So he's got Jumanji as well. So
I think half and half of this will be that he's too busy, and the studio's gone. Well, you know, the second one didn't make a massive amount of money. We'll maybe wait off a bit and do it when it's cheaper.
And last week, Karen Gillan was announced that she's going to be in Jumanji 2, or whatever they want to call it. It is going to be a sequel as well. Now this has actually taken a little twist as of today actually. But the original story is that Shailene Woodley has confirmed she will not be playing Triss in the TV series of the Divergent series. So we know that the final Divergent film was announced by Lionsgate just before Comic-Con that it was going to get turned into a TV series because the previous film didn't do very well at the box office. So they were going to turn it into a TV series to finish it off. Now, Shailene Woodley, in an interview for her new film, she said unequivocally that she will not be in the TV series because she signed up for a film and not a TV series. Now, a little added extra bit as of today, in an interview again for the film that she's been promoting, she turned around and said she would gladly play Triss, only if Lionsgate changed their mind again and made the final Divergent film a film and not a TV series. She will not return if they do make it into a TV series.
We kind of knew this was going to happen because, I mean, a lot of actors, they sign on for one thing, and the different mediums of film and TV don't work for one when they work for the other so much. I think that Lionsgate should bite the bullet because I don't know, obviously it didn't do a massive success at the box office, but it's probably done a fair bit of success on, not necessarily massive, but it's probably done a little bit okay on the DVD section. And then it's the thing of it because it's the third part. If it was just like the first film or the second film out of 4, I'd say okay, fair enough. You've gone 3/4 of the way. Don't just wimp out and do. And I think that's the worst time to basically go, no, we don't want to do it anymore, it's costing too much. You've committed to it, you're already kind of committed there. Just don't wimp out and don't, it's kind of a bit dickish to do that to the audience.
Here's a question for you. Do you think that because of the standings of these now, that it might have been a much more smarter move for Lionsgate to sort of like ship it off to Netflix or Amazon and ask them for, you know what, we know you're going to get viewing figures for this. You do, in a Netflix case, you do get stupid figures for the Adam Sandler stuff that you released. Is there any way you would help us foot the bill, say have a budget around about 50-60 million, and we'll put it directly onto your streaming service?
Well, I mean, there is
Do you
that.
think that would have been a better option? And do you think Shailene Woodley and Ansel Elgort and everybody else, Miles Teller, would have just turned around and gone, you know what, let's just do it?
I don't think they need to do that. I think that they should have done basically the thing that's interesting with Lionsgate is Lionsgate actually has a Lionsgate kind of on-demand streaming option they have for a lot of things. No, but they have something they call Lionsgate Premiere or something like that gets streaming options in the US. I don't know about other parts of the world. I don't think you have it in the UK. But they have this thing there which basically is on-demand thing. So they have things that they release that they don't necessarily release cinematically, or they do, in a tiny release in America and then it goes straight onto the streaming thing. They should have basically just gone and made the last one, lower the budget, fair enough, do that and strip it down a little bit, but then make it that way, because that's basically the way that they're kind of guaranteed to make back at least what it cost them. It's not going to be a loss then, and it is meaning that they're providing the audience that they have got with the last part of the story and the ending of it, not just leaving them hanging or basically completely changing it to a TV series. Because the way whatever they do when they change it to a TV series, it won't be the same. It won't have the same details. It won't have probably the same characters. It'll just everything will be left unfinished still.
Final question. I don't know. Did you see any of the Mortal Instruments TV series?
Yes, I've seen the film and the TV series.
Yeah. Did they take any of the characters from the film into the TV series, or did they use a whole new different cast?
No, it's all the characters. It is all the same characters, but basically the first one, the series that there's been, I don't think it's been given another series. It might be wrong, but it basically was the same story, kind of stretched out over the 13 episodes, 12 episodes they did or something, I don't know. But
so was any of the cast from the film and the TV series?
Nope, all different new. It was like
the same characters.
It was like that joke of it, like it was like a series with the cast of a CW show.
So it's very much like what they did with the first series of the From Dusk Till Dawn TV series. They turned the first film into sort of like a TV series.
I don't know, because I watched half of the first episode of that and turned it off.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it, but that's exactly what the first series of From Dusk Till Dawn was. It was just a TV series version of the first film.
Oh dear.
And so, yeah, do you think that it'll be smart for them to actually go with ancillary characters in the Divergent series, or do you think that they might be able to get away with just recasting characters and just end it in the episodes?
I don't know. I don't think they should do that at all.
It's a weird thing for them to do. It's their fault anyway for splitting the last book. Just take note, stop doing that. The Maze Runner series has realised that it's not working on that front there, so they have one more film, and that starts reshooting again in February. So that's it. Other news, quickly go through these bits and bobs here. Jason Momoa's confirmed that filming on the Crow reboot will finally begin in January, which I doubt that'll happen.
Yeah,
I'm not
holding my breath, because it's the most troubled film production I think there's been in the last decade.
Yeah,
it's just never happening. It's never got started.
Chloe Grace Moretz has confirmed that she has dropped out of all of her future projects due to her wanting to slow things down.
Okay, fair enough, but I think that's maybe a mistake, because I think she's at that kind of point in. I mean, fair enough if she doesn't want to do acting anymore, but I think if she wants to do acting and continue it, she needs to keep doing some work. I don't think that it's a wise idea for someone. I get, obviously, if she's that age and she's finding it difficult, if she wants to go and actually go to college or something. But I think, because it's a lot of those things where you get actors and actresses at that age and they stop and then they can't get back into it, because basically they kind of get forgotten.
Yeah, and she was supposedly going to be playing Ariel in the live-action version of The Little Mermaid, but that's not going to happen now. And final piece of news, Conrad Vernon, the co-director of Sausage Party, is set to direct a remake of The Toxic Avenger. Conrad also did, now, he's switched a little bit, because his previous films were Shrek 2, Monsters vs. Aliens, and Madagascar 3. So he went from doing them to teaming up with Seth Rogen to do Sausage Party, and now The Toxic Avenger.
Is he doing a live-action Toxic Avenger then, or an animated one?
Yeah, it's a live-action one.
Yeah, okay, so his first live-action film is going to be with a character who basically looks like the Toxic Avenger. For anyone, I'm just trying to think how to describe the Toxic Avenger. I can't. Just Google Toxic Avenger. Anyone?
He looks a tiny little bit like the Swamp Thing with rubbish on him. It's just an interesting thing for him to actually do. It's a Roger Corman creation for Trauma. Back in the 80s.
There was 2 films I think with the live action ones which were done, and they were very much like the original Captain America film.
I think there's about 4 of them.
Was it really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's multiple Toxic, and then there was obviously a cartoon as well based on a Toxic Avenger. So yeah, we're going to see Toxie back on screen. Not the big screen probably, because nobody knows who Toxic Avenger is. You've got one piece of news, haven't you?
Just about that. I don't even have a lot of details, but one of my favourite directors, Jeff Nichols, who last directed Midnight Special, has been confirmed as being directing the remake of the 80s action movie science fiction film Alien Nation, which was not a massive success at the time. It had actor Manny Patinkin and James Caan in it, but went on to be kind of successful on TV in a TV spin-off series, and which then spin off some TV movies. But they are going to remake it as a big screen thing again, and no words on anything more than just that Jeff Nichols will be involved, be directing. But I'm kind of interested in that. It's a remake that I don't mind, because I do like Jeff Nichols, and he's got this weird way of looking at things.
Yeah, he has, and it should be interesting. UK box office top 10. Before we get into the top 10, there was a couple of films you wanted to talk about, isn't it? Because you've actually been catching up with the cinema releases over the last few weeks. So
yeah,
you want to mention a few of them that you've seen that are no longer in the top 10? Yeah,
I'm trying to think, because we were talking about this, and I was trying to remember what ones there were. There was because I saw Mechanic Resurrection.
Yeah.
Which I actually did want to see, because I liked the first one. I really did enjoy it. I like Jason Statham films generally. And it's basically, it's a 2-star film, but it's kind of like 2-star, does what it says on the tin, action, dumb, leave your brain at the door, popcorn movie. And I really kind of enjoyed it, and I got into it. I was just like, it's typical. You got Jessica Alba in it, who's just absolutely terrible. Partly I think through her, partly I think through the writing for her character. You have Michelle Yeoh in it, who's completely wasted, and it's kind of why did they bother casting Michelle Yeoh, because she doesn't actually do any kind of fighting or anything in it. But yeah, it was like, tick the boxes, does the job, fine. And I saw it in a little tiny cinema, which maybe had about 15 seats or something, and there was me and 6 other people in it or something, and everyone was like, and there was a lot of people that were like in their like 50s and 60s watching it. I was like, am I in the right screen? And they stayed in there. So
I had that feeling when I went to see the Ninth Life of Louis Drax, but I'll get onto that in a moment.
I'm trying to remember what it was, because I'm trying to see
the Purge election year. Were you here when I reviewed that?
I didn't hear your review. No, I understand that you liked it.
Did you see it?
I did see it, yeah, and I had to say that I enjoyed it more than my other half did. She didn't hate it, but she watched it and she was kind of like, yeah, and by the end of it, it kind of tailed off for her. I kind of thought it was nice. It was a nice different change on things, and I liked the way it worked, and I liked the actually set up the changing the world. Because the thing is, I want to see now, and this is kind of spoilerish, so spoiler alert for anyone who's not seen the Purge. I want to say Purge Anarchy. But, yeah. No, the third one. What is the
election year?
Election year, yeah. But anyone who hasn't seen Election Year, spoiler alert. The whole thing of that now, the potential that the Purge may no longer happen. But then I'd love to see another film now where the Purge has actually ended, and see the world, that world, on the night of what used to be the Purge, when it's no longer valid, and you get people will go out and do crazy stuff like that, and it would be a great nice way to kind of twist it on its head and become a lot more kind of like the vigilante sort of weird people and stuff, that kind of thing.
There's me. I actually want to see the opposite, and I want to see the prequel, which is rare, but I want to see how the Purge began. So that's
a lot of potential in the whole series, which is what's good. It's kind of got
there's
that.
different places you can take it to as well, because if you watch the Purge Election Year, it actually involved people coming across from Europe as well, because they find out that you've got that opportunity in America, and so they look at it and think, you know what, we can do this. So you can sort of like,
they go on a Purge holiday.
You can put that into any country now, because they could look at it and go, let's have it in Japan then. Well, how would the Japanese handle it? So it's an interesting premise you could take it to. Was there anything else in the chart?
I'm trying to think what there was in the chart last week, so I didn't take note of the chart last week.
Well, there
which I should
wasn't
have
that
done.
much in the chart last week. That's actually, there's a few films in the top 10 now, so we'll get onto that. Just like I said, the one film I do want to mention, there was I reviewed Morgan last week. That only went in at number 16, and it's absolutely bombed.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Box office. It bombed at the box office in America badly, and it's bombed over here. Michelle Yeoh is actually in it, and it's not bad. It's got in it. It's very much like Ex Machina, like I said last week, and it's got the ideas of Ex Machina. It's not as good as Ex Machina, but it's not bad, and it definitely doesn't deserve the slating that it's gotten. Only £490 per screen on 391 screens. The other one is a movie that I didn't get a review last week, and I only saw it the day after. It's The Ninth Life of Louis Drax. It's a drama from Alexandre Aja. Now, Aja, you might know from the remakes of things like The Hills of Eyes, and he did Switchblade Romance, and he was executive producer and producer on Maniac and P2 and films like that. And he's decided to go down the drama route, and so it's got Jamie Dornan in it from 50 Shades of Grey and The Fall.
He's also in Anthropoid.
Yeah, an Anthropoid, which we'll review a little bit later on. It's just about a little boy, a 9-year-old boy called Louis Drax, who he looks on life as this being his ninth life, like a cat. And unfortunately, in his ninth life, he ends up falling off a cliff and put into a coma. And Jimmy Dornan plays a doctor who's looking after him and discovering what actually went on. Could his mother been involved? Why has his father run off? What's happened to his father? And it has fantastical elements in it, very much like a Guillermo del Toro feel to it, where you see a creature every now and again. You hear him talking to Louis Drax in his dreams, and then you see him. It's very much like a sludge rock monster in a way, and that's fantastic the way it's actually done. Overall, the film itself, it lacks a little bit, but like you with Mechanic Resurrection, I saw this in a very small screen. It was only had 4 rows of seats and about 25-30 seats, but it was sort of like the perfect atmosphere to see it in. And so it was an enjoyable, if slightly quirky, offbeat movie.
Yeah, and there's 2 films that I wanted to see. I wanted to try and see a film called Equity, which was a small release, but it's only got like a 1 showing a week thing, which I wasn't able to really see it. I want to see Dave, and then I also wanted to see another film which we'll get to briefly in the top 10, is number 9, which I haven't had a chance to do, but I definitely want to try and see it, because I've heard good things. So.
Yeah, so we'll dive into the top 10. So at number 10 is Pete's Dragon.
Yeah, which is perfectly perfunctory remake of the original. Is that whole thing of a soulless remake though? There are people that I've heard reviews saying that it was like, really magical thing. I didn't find it to be that magical. I actually found it really sort of very basic. Kind of fulfilling the list of things that need to be done, and that's it. It didn't do anything special. It really lacked a feel. Like there was. I haven't seen the BFG, which we'll get to in the top 10, but I had a feeling like I wish Spielberg had done Pete's Dragon rather than doing the BFG. I don't know what the BFG is like, but from what I hear, I think that might have been a better move for him. Pete's Dragon is definitely that kind of thing that Spielberg, sort of that classic Spielberg kids film. There's nothing special to it which he would have brought to it.
Yeah, at number 9 is a new entry for Woody Allen's latest film, Cafe Society.
Yeah, which I haven't seen, but I'm hearing really good things about it. I'm hearing great, sort of typical Woody Allen, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but I kind of like the more modern Woody Allen films. I'm not a fan of his older stuff, and I struggled with sort of a lot of things. I love things like Midnight in Paris, I think, was his first film that I saw that I really kind of enjoyed and got into. But I love To Rome with Love, and I kind of, as much as I didn't love it, I did like, I can't think of the one with Emma Stone and Joaquin Phoenix, which was a couple of years ago. But I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to try and see it, because it's got a great cast by the sound of it as well.
Yeah, at number 8 is Jason Bourne.
Yeah, which I was disappointed by. Very much a kind of a sequel that's kind of a pointless sequel. Doesn't have a reason really to exist, especially after there was potential set up for it in the Bourne spin-off movie, The Bourne Legacy, the one with Jeremy Renner. And it's not bad, but it's just very kind of like, okay, yeah, action sequence, blah blah blah, action sequence. It's very typical kind of sequel. Doesn't need to be there. And as such, really kind of disappointed me, because I wanted more.
And number 7 is the BFG.
Is it not War Dogs?
No, number 7 is the BFG.
BFG, okay, you're looking at a different list to me then. BFG I haven't seen either yet, so that's...
Yeah, it's second week at number 7. It's okay, but I can see where you're coming from, saying that Spielberg should have done Pete's Dragon more so than the BFG. I think it would have been an interesting handle for him to do Pete's Dragon over the BFG, because I think you can see he wants to do something whimsical, and it's got the whimsical nature to it, but I just don't feel like it works for the film. Number 6 is War Dogs. Okay, I'm looking at a list which has them the other way around. I still haven't seen War Dogs either, and that's the one I really want to see. Just the way it seems to be showing in cinemas, I don't expect it to be in the top 10 next week, especially with this number of new releases this week. Yeah, I doubt it had been in there. Have you? So you've not seen it, have you? I've not, but because the reason I've not been able to see it is because when I've been trying to see things that were new and catch up on things, it was always overlapping because it's kind of been dumped to the one screen with a showing on every, one morning, one evening or something like that, and that's it. It's not getting a lot of showings in 2 cinemas I've been to which had loads of screens, so it seems to have been kind of getting a bit of the Ghostbusters treatment. It's kind of being dumped. Well, I reviewed War Dogs, and I thought it was a very good performance by Jonah Hill. I thought Miles Teller's character was a very wishy-washy, sort of like wet lettuce-esque kind of character. You could see that Jonah Hill, if they ever do a remake or another version of Scarface again, or that kind of gangster movie, he instantly wants to be in it, because it's pretty much an audition for a gangster film, and he loves playing that. You can see that he would love to play that character, and he does it really well. It's just the film itself is very, very normal. Whereas a movie of this, you would expect it to pop more. It just doesn't have that extra little pop to push it above a lot of these kind of films. Number 5 is Suicide Squad. Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about this, and it's a film which is oddly fun and enjoyable, and if you're into comic book films and you know the characters, then you get a lot from it. But it is a film, and I've only seen it once, and I do want to see it again, and I've just not had the chance to. And I know for a fact when I see it again, because you have that initial buzz of seeing a film, and then you see it again, you can analyse it a bit more. And I know for definitely sure there's the editing in it has so many problems. It is a film that basically does seem to be made, I don't know about made, edited by committee basically, and taken apart and put back together in different ways, and things added and things taken out because of studio basically going, oh, we need this to be this, we need it to be that, and studios basically come along. And I think David Ayer, because David Ayer is a great writer and director, but he wrote the film in 6 weeks. And then started producing it and putting it together and everything, and then I expect the studio's gone, oh yeah, it's good, but we need it to be this, and they're going, oh, especially at some point someone's gone, it needs to be like Guardians of the Galaxy so we can have an album, and just all these things. It is full of studio notes. It really is just one of those films. But if you're into the comic book films, you'll enjoy it. If you're not into comic book films, you will come out of it and you'll kind of go, wow, that was loud and dizzy, can I go and throw up now? $700 million it's made worldwide now. Yeah. I think it's somewhere in the region of the 94th highest grossing movie of all time. And the thing is, if it had probably been David Ayer's film and he'd done it and everything and the studio had left him alone, I'm pretty sure it would have been higher than that by now. Probably, yeah. At number 4 is Bad Moms, which is perfectly fine. I thought it was actually quite funny. It had some moments in it that were genuinely well written, and the characters are quite interesting and funny. It's got these moments where it kind of almost delves into the whole gross out comedy, but the thing is, it's got nicely written characters, and also including kind of a nicely written and a great performance by Christina Applegate as kind of the villain, the mum that you really hate, which that kind of role. And it's kind of one of those ones that by the end of it you go, yeah, okay, had fun, laughed, definitely passed 6 laugh test, and has an interesting different twist on the whole outtakes ending thing, which it does a completely different thing with interviews and stuff, which is kind of at the end of it it kind of makes you go, oh, that's nice, kind of thing, and walk out and go, yeah, okay. Yes, surprisingly I didn't hate it, which is the shock, because it's the kind of film that I would have looked at and go, you know what, I'm not going to watch this looks really bad. When I watched it and went, actually, why is this making me laugh? Yeah. Bad movie. But at the end of it, I think, okay, fine movie. Your purpose was to entertain me for 90 minutes, and you know what? You've gone and actually done that. Yeah. Number 3 is Finding Dory.
Yeah, this is another one I haven't seen. In fact, I haven't seen numbers 3 and 2. So
you didn't keep swimming. You didn't keep swimming.
No, I again just haven't had a chance, and it's one of these ones I do want to see. I really do want to see it, but it's just been no chance.
Well, it's going to be in the top 10 for another good few weeks.
Yeah,
so
it's still getting a load of showings, but I'm maybe trying to see it this week, but it's just literally a case of that every time it's like, oh, there's this on, and I can see like this and this and this, and then it's like, but Finding Nemo is like starting half an hour later or something, or half an hour before.
Yeah, see Kubo on the 2 strings first though. And number 2 is a new entry for Brotherhood.
Yeah, again I haven't seen. I've not seen any of the Hood movies.
Neither have I. And Stuart was on the show last week.
Did he see it? Because it's a British film, so supposedly he should have seen it.
Yeah, he was on the show last week, and one of the whole purposes for actually bringing Stuart in, because I was going to bring Shane in on last week's show from Following the Gamer, just to sort of like see what how he would handle a movie show. And the whole purpose of bringing Stuart in was because he said he was going to go and see Brotherhood, and he hadn't seen it. Shame on him. Because I have not seen any of the Hood films neither. It's just not my cup of tea, and from what I've been hearing from Brotherhood is it ramps up the sex, which is not needed in it. So with it being Noel Clarke's final film in the Hood trilogy, it supposedly ends off on a damp squib.
I mean, the thing is, you gotta give, whether you like him or not, you've got to give it to Noel Clarke for being able to put together that and writing that, because writing those films and then acting in them and putting everything, he's really kind of up there doing, he's really into it. He's not phoning it in, sort of thing.
Yeah, and at number 1 is a new entry for Sausage Party.
Yeah, you don't know what I thought of this yet, do you?
No.
No. Okay, I have to admit, I laughed at it. I found it to be funny. I did find it early on was really good. Liked some of the ideas. I liked some of the ingenuity of it, because my whole thing with animated films is that the ingenuity is there, the cleverness and the weirdness of the world and the ideas that come with that, and that are really, really good. That the whole thing of why I like Monsters Inc., why I love Monsters Inc. and I hated Monsters University, because it just didn't have any of that. This had lots of that. This had a lot of humour and things like that, and then it kind of went overboard some and kind of lost me a little bit, because by the end of the film it just kind of went a bit too far for me. A lot of the humour I was kind of like, yeah, okay, and there was a couple of moments in there where and I don't hold this against it. I actually think it's very difficult to do tasteful bad humour. And by that I mean there's a kind of a reference where the movie brings in a character that is basically doing a spoof, horrible kind of P-take of someone like Stephen Hawking, which is the kind of thing you don't do that, but it does it in a way that it's kind of like, it's almost like it's kind of nodding to him, going hello sir, sort of thing, and that was kind of like that. It's basically kind of like not Seth MacFarlane, but Seth. Sorry, not Seth Rogen, but more like Seth MacFarlane style of humour, of kind of shock humour. And the film has that in spades, but then it just kind of pushes it too far towards the end. I think the last 20 minutes, if the last 20 minutes had been less saturated with really bad humour, I would have liked it more.
It thinks it's an animated film directed by Matt Stone and Trey Parker. It's the kind of humour that you would have, in the hands of somebody like the people behind South Park, would have worked. Because if you watch South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut, that pushes the boundaries of stuff. But there is some of the songs, obviously, but there is probably only one sort of like kind of scene in the entirety of the film. And then the rest of them is the kind of thing that you would expect, but they get away with it because the humour matches the film. Whereas in Sausage Party, for the first 2/3, it does, and then, like you say, it just decides to go in shock territory with the last third, and in absolutely unnecessary stuff. With the amount of stuff that happens in that last third, I'm surprised they were able to get away with it in a 15, because the BBFC have become slightly more lax now, and if you released that film, Sausage Party, about 5 years ago, I would have said,
it would have
been in 18.
Yeah.
Easily. So, yeah.
And I don't think it's bad. I just think it's kind of like it's like basically the first half of it is Hangover, the second half of it is Hangover 3, and then it turns into Hangover 2 at the end. Yeah. And it's just awful then. Right,
on to the new releases of the week, because we've been rambling on a little bit too much there. First up, Timur Bekmambetov has decided to get his grubby little mitts on the classic that is Ben-Hur. Now, Ben-Hur has actually been released in multiple different guises, everything from a stage play back in the late 1800s, where they used proper chariot racing and horses and things like that on stage. So you can just imagine the size of the stage that they would have had to use, the chariot race especially. And there's been multiple different film versions of it. Obviously, the opening clip of the show was from the classic Charlton Heston version of it. Then, out of nowhere, it seemed to be like there was a remake of it greenlit, and Timur Bekmambetov was the director who was helming the project. Now, Bekmambetov has previously did movies like Wanted and Night Watch, Day Watch, and then unfortunately his directing career has pretty much gone snowballing downhill very, very fast. And so what Bekmambetov has gone and done is pretty much, in a way, done I wouldn't say overall like-for-like remake, because this is half the running time of the original Ben-Hur, but he's taking the main elements from the original Ben-Hur and done his kind of spin of it. So it stars Jack Hudson and Toby Kebbell. They both play sort of brothers in a way. Hudson plays Judah Ben-Hur, and Toby Kebbell plays Masala Severus. If you want to add Snape on the end there, you can, but it's just sad if you want to do that. And like I said, they're sort of brothers. Ben-Hur, he's sort of like, he had no parents and so no orphan in a way, and was brought up with Masala, and so they treat each other like brothers. Then all of a sudden, they end up splitting off because one wants to go off and sort of like roam around with the Romans in a way, and the other one does not want any kind of conflict on that front there. And so when Masala comes back, he's sort of like high and mighty, he's high up now with the Romans. The Romans want to change the entire look on society. They want to rule everything under the thumb of Julius Caesar. And so an incident happens which forces Ben-Hur to be put into slavery, escapes from a huge massive ship battle, and then him seeking ultimate revenge in the chariot race that we know and love. Here's a clip.
People of Jerusalem, friends of Rome, we celebrate the power of man. You will see them race for glory. You will see them fight for honor. You will see them die for you.
Should have stayed away.
You should have killed me.
I will.
Now, before I get up my thoughts about it, I'm just seeing a tweet here from somebody who reviews films on Twitter, and it's just their opening sentence. They put in the tweet, in 2016, the year when the ideas ran out.
That was a long one. That was a long time ago.
Which is sort of like explains what happened to this year in films, because it's the year when the blockbusters failed, and Ben-Hur is definitely high up on that list. It's looking to lose around about 120 million at the worldwide box office, and you can probably tell why, because it's a film that didn't need to be remade, and especially in the hands of Timur Bekmambetov. Now, I've liked some of Timur Bekmambetov's films. A lot of his films that he's released over the last 5-7 years have been bad up to atrocious. This falls into the category of being very sandwiched in between of bad and atrocious, because the film itself, even though it is the biblical epic that the original, well, not the original, but the Charlton Heston version set out to be, that was very well constructed, very well pieced together, because it took its time and it made sure that it added all the proper elements into it. Whereas this one here, it rushes a lot of stuff and it's really dull and really boring. You're just eager for the chariot race to happen, which we've seen in the trailer, which you see briefly at the start of the film as well. And when the chariot race happens, you're actually eager for the film to end. So when you want something to happen, and when something does happen, you just go, you know what, you can't even do that right, so just end it now, please. It's boring, it's badly acted. When you've got a character played by Morgan Freeman in dreadlocks, and he can't even save the film, then you know that something seriously is really wrong with it. There is no chemistry with the characters at all. You just do not feel anything for the characters. And then what Bek Mambatov does is he shoehorn in the story of Jesus into it, because he looks at it and goes, you know what, this is supposed to be a biblical epic of sorts. Where's the biblical stuff? Jesus, let's put it in quick. Come on, we've got to rush it in there. And so he even rushes that as well, and it's just badly constructed. It's just a badly made movie. It's not atrocious, so it's not like rant-worthy atrocious kind of stuff. It's just a badly made movie.
Because I also managed to rewatch the 1959 Ben-Hur over the weekend as well. So I was able to kind of put it in perspective a bit more. I have to say, I don't think it's a absolutely terrible film. I think that it's not a great film, but I think that it's got elements that I do like. It's got a lot of elements I don't like. I definitely think that the writing of it has been a problem, with it being basically trying to rush things to fit things down. I don't think necessarily the writing, but I think the editing and the pacing definitely has a problem with it, because you don't really care about the characters, because the first half hour is trying to cram in an hour of what the original film did, of what the 1959 one, I say original, the 59 one was the last version.
The original film came out
25.
1907.
Oh, so there's one before 25 as well, okay.
There was a silent black and white one in 1907.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but with this one, basically, because the original, well, I say the original, every time I say that, I'm meaning the 59 one, is 3 hours and 45 minutes or something long. And this is 2 hours, and they're basically trying to cram it all in. They haven't kind of stripped out things, apart from there's a bit in the middle which they've kind of taken out, which I have to admit I agree did slow it down in the original one, in the 59 one, but it's crucial kind of character stuff, because it has to do a whole thing with Judah becoming a Roman and basically taking on a Roman name and stuff, and it's all about his identity and stuff like that, and that's kind of stuff that is important to a character, and they left that stuff out, and they left in and added in stuff about him being married and stuff at the start and everything, and it just doesn't, it feels forced. Then you have this kind of sequence where he's on the ship, and it passes years, and you don't really see him on the ship much. It just, you kind of see him one day on the ship when he's in the ship rowing. And I wish you'd seen a bit more of that, because then it started to kind of get a little bit interesting, and the whole ship bit and the sequence of that, and I thought was really nice done. I actually thought there was a great sequence in it where you see him basically become kind of like a leader of the men there, which is not in the original, which is not in the 59 one. And I thought, oh, okay, we're starting to see some interesting ideas, some nice things. And then again after that,
and that scene there, I was actually laughing at it more than enjoying it, because the fact that you've got the person on the drum is just constantly banging it. Yeah. He's getting covered in oil and getting set on fire, and he's still just banging the drum, and I was going, no. It's just no.
Yeah, but that's the thing of why I thought the character then taken over. The character realises if we don't carry on with this, we're going to die, sort of thing. And I thought that was kind of good. But the thing is, then you've got this whole sequence then about 45 minutes or so, when he then meets the Morgan Freeman character, who, while I admit the writing of kind of that character is kind of an amalgamation of 2 or 3 different characters in the 59 film. And I admit that that's kind of a smart way of doing it, but it does rush things. It takes me to take out a lot of things, and it kind of, and then you've got Morgan. It's always this Morgan Freeman in dreadlocks, and you're kind of like, what? No, and that really kind of pushed it a bit. But then I gotta admit, I kind of liked the chariot sequence, the chariot race and battle. I thought was kind of well handled, nothing exceptional, but I was like kind of, getting to that bit. At least by the end of that bit coming up towards the end of the film, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm falling asleep. Oh, okay, I'm awake now. I kind of enjoyed that, but the rest of the film is just very, very, it's shoddily underratedly. And I'll tell you this, actually, one thing in particular I think is a problem, because they've made and stripped it down so they can try and make it into a 2-hour film. The 59 film isn't a fantastic film that everyone thinks it is. I've just, as I say, rewatched it this weekend. And it is a film that is very long, and the reason that it does work for a lot of people is because when you sit through a film that's 3.5 hours, 3 hours and 3/4 long, you do get more attached to the characters, and what connection there is strengthened because of that longer time. By stripping that down and making it into a 2-hour film, there's not that chance to build that connection with the characters, and the characters aren't that well developed because of this. They've stripped out so many things. So by doing that, they have kind of forfeit the character development, which is what the film needs and is lacking sorely.
Before we quickly go on to the next film, because we are overrunning, just want to say that the reason why I didn't like the chariot scene is because it's badly CGI'd. The CGI in that scene is horrible. It's horrendous. Whereas if you look at the 59 version, it's realistic. It's properly done. It needed that in the film, rather than what Beck Mametov does a lot in these movies, going, I think the way you can actually overcome the flaws and faults in a movie is by adding more CGI.
Did you see it in 2D or 3D?
2D.
I ended up seeing the 3D just because of the timing of it, the showing. And I could actually say that the boat sequence and the chariot race, the 3D, I kind of got into it, which is a weird thing. But it's completely unnecessary. But it's like the film, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, enjoyed it. Maybe that's why I got into it more. And the effects weren't that bad for me. I didn't think they were that bad.
Shows you how much I think that the film was not an atrocious movie, just a really bad film. I give it a 4 because I was being generous. But then I might look at it, my score beside it, and think I might have to drop it down to a 3, but it's not going to make my worst 10 of the year.
No, it's not.
There are many more films out there which is worse than this, but it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree. It's not the worst film ever. It may be the worst film of the week. We'll see when we get to the end of the show. But it's not like the worst film of the year, definitely.
Well, we'll get on to Hell and High Water next then.
Yeah. Which is written by Taylor Sheridan, directed by David Mackenzie. Now, Taylor Sheridan wrote the script for Sicario, and David Mackenzie directed the British film with Jack O'Connell, Start Up. So, two kind of good pedigree names there and history there. It is a kind of a weird kind of look at these two brothers that are basically going and robbing banks, and they have a scheme in the way they're doing it, which is kind of developed and explained gradually through the film by their actions, what they're doing on, and meanwhile they have them sort of in sort of outskirts of America in the sort of the dust towns sort of thing. Them going through and doing that, while you have as well coming in a soon to retire sheriff played by Jeff Bridges, who is kind of trying to figure it out, and he's kind of like, I'm not retiring until I figure this one out and get it done sort of thing, and his partner, who's kind of the new guy that he's had to basically be paired up with. You do have the two robbers played by Ben Foster and Chris Pine, playing brothers who, as I say, they have their reasons, which are very kind of well explained and developed over the progress of the film, but you have kind of you get to an idea of what their issues are between them, that they've not necessarily had the best of relationships, and there's this kind of this conflict because Chris Pine's character wants to do all this because of the fact he has issues, and he's trying to kind of make things right with his ex-wife and his 2 kids, and Ben Foster's character is the one he brings into it because Ben Foster's character has a bit of a shady past. Here's a clip.
You boys know how rich they're gonna be? They don't know anything yet.
You take them to the funeral?
Like I said, they don't know anything.
You want a little advice?
No, I don't.
Go see him tomorrow.
You got any idea how much I owe Debbie in child support?
You got enough in your front pocket to fix that problem right now.
You can't spare it, you know that.
Maybe we should hit another branch.
You talk like we ain't gonna get away with this.
I never met nobody got away with anything, ever. You.
And why in the hell did you agree to do it?
Because you asked, little brother.
So you have this film which has moments like that where you have them talking and there's kind of good dialogue. It's very natural feeling dialogue between the two of them. You also have this dialogue as well between Jeff Bridges' character and his partner, who there's all the way through the film there's this kind of budding friendship and camaraderie between him and his partner, because his partner is a African American Indian. He's a Native American, and he's always kind of giving him racial slurs but the way it's thrown around is it start off thinking, oh, he's going to be horrible to him, and it's actually just kind of their relationship and it's their friendship, and it shows kind of the characters really well. And it's also a sort of good scene of a good way of breaking up the tension in the film, because it has some tension from the robberies going on. Some of them are really well orchestrated, really well done, and the whole sort of chase and the thrill of that going on, and then also the pressure of the drama between the brothers and their obviously history to do with their mother having passed and the things they're doing is the reason they're doing it. It's a really well written drama with thriller elements and a couple of action sequences towards the end more, but I gotta say I really got into it, really enjoyed it. I thought the acting was great from Ben Foster, who isn't necessarily always great. Chris Pine was definitely punching way above his level. We've seen him on things recently, and Jeff Bridges was really, really great as well, and it was just a really good character thriller, which I was surprised at. It's got this whole feel to it, the way it's shot and the way it looks. It's got some great cinematography of these kind of the old sort of the towns that have been sort of forgotten out in the middle of nowhere, and it's got a kind of a weird western feel to it for that aspect, but it's not a western, it's a modern film. It's just very, very kind of downplayed and kind of depressingly shot, but with an interesting visual style, and it just adds to the kind of the tone of the film, which I really loved.
Nice, but I am actually slightly interested in the film itself. I could do with a good couple of dramas, and this is one of the films that is slightly higher up on my list when I do finally get some spare time, because my time is now just minuscule again. So I will watch it by the end of the year.
Yeah, it did really remind me at some point of what's the Christian Bale movie from last year or the year before I loved.
Yeah,
Out of the Furnace. It had a similar kind of low down and dirty, gritty feel to it, which I really enjoyed, and I thought that it didn't just kind of use it and throw it away. It made that kind of a crucial element of the film.
Yeah. Right, let's move tack to them. Let's go into the animation territory, because it is the only animated film that we're reviewing on this week's show as well. In Kubo and the Two Strings, it's from the company Leica, who made Paranorman, and also did Box Trolls, so that was their previous film. So they're a company who don't release many films. I think this is like their fourth film, and they also did Coraline as well. And so the gaps in between their films is a good couple of years. But they are a company that specialises, like I said, in stop motion, but phenomenal storytelling as well. And so in this case, it's directed by Travis Knight, who's done the previous films as well, and it centres around the character of Kubo, who lives with his mother in a big, huge, massive cave overlooking a very, very small town. And what Kubo is able to do, Kubo has this knack of being able to bring papier-mâché characters to life, or origami as it's known as in Japan. And so he goes to the town every single day while his mother is languishing in the cave where they live, and spins yarns and tales by playing this small little guitar with 3 strings, even though it says 2 strings, but that's alluded to later on in the film, and brings these origami creations to life, which involves a samurai going up against dragons and all that whimsical kinds of things. We discover that the mother is burdened with the loss of Kubo's father, down to the fact that both of her evil sisters, along with her grandfather, was the one who took it away from her. When Kubo's mother ends up getting taken away from him, it's up to Kubo to go on a big, massive journey with the help of Matthew McConaughey's Beetle, and in this clip, Charlize Theron's Monkey.
You're growing stronger. You might not want to look quite so pleased about that. We grow stronger, the world grows more dangerous, life has a funny way of keeping things balanced.
Monkey, do you ever say anything encouraging?
I encourage you not to die.
I encourage you not to die.
And so Kubo's journey along, like I said, with Monkey and Beetle, is so he can find these three mythical items: a sword, a helmet, and a chest plate. In the film as well, you've got Rooney Mara, who does the voice of the evil twin sisters, and also Ralph Fiennes, who does the voice of the Moon King, or Kubo's grandfather. Now, you sort of like have this nervous twinge in the back of your mind when a company sort of like excels one after another when they release their films. I know Leica is a small company, but it's happened with Pixar. You were thinking there is a time when Pixar is going to falter, and they did falter. Disney, there's a time when Disney is going to falter, and they did falter. So you're wondering, when is it time for Leica to do that? Will they falter with Kubo and the Two Strings? And I can gladly see that's definitely a no. This is by far their best film. Now, I really like Leica. I think Box Trolls is a very smart and dark movie, very much like Oliver Twist, but done sort of like stop motion and even a little bit more twisted. Coraline is very creepy. It reminds you of watching eerie Hammer movies from the 40s and 50s. It's very well constructed, very much like Beetlejuice. And you look at Kubo and the Two Strings, and I'm sorry I'm have to bring this up, but it has hints of Ghibli in it. It's just the way the film flows and the story that's told. And there was one review that I read, and they've actually changed their review now, where they said it's a bland film. It's not. It's an absolutely gorgeous movie. There is the typical Leica thing as well. They steer during the credits, because during the credits of Leica movies, you get a scene where they show you how they actually created it in the stop motion, and there is a fight scene involving a huge massive skeleton, not giving anything away. It's in the trailer, and they show that in stop motion and how they actually created that. And honestly, the film is beautiful. There is one sumptuous scene where they're in a boat made of leaves in the middle of the ocean, and it's just a very simple backdrop. You don't need clouds in the sky, you don't need tons of details in the sky. You just need sort of like the orange tinge of the sun just setting and the boat on the ocean itself, and it's just mesmerizing. It's phenomenally voiced. Art Parkinson does the voice of Kubo. It's just brilliantly voiced by that, and just overall the film has got tinges of horror in there to sort of like let adults get a little bit from the movie. It's got tons of adventure in there for kids to just sink their teeth into. It's got memorable moments. It's a phenomenal piece of work. It's absolutely brilliant. It's in my top 5 movies of the year. And again, like I said before you went on holiday and on last week's show, I have the difficulty of choosing the best animated film of the year. It's just a nightmare, absolute nightmare for me.
It's been a good year for animation for a change then.
There is. It's a big, huge, massive. I might actually introduce the best horror category as well, because it's been a phenomenal year for horror. But there is one more animated film to come, and it's called The Red Turtle. And I don't know when that's released, but if it's released this year, that's got another chance of being making it in my top 5, because again, I'm going to mention it, but it's produced by Ghibli. Even though they've sort of like got out of the movie making market, it's a film which has got no dialogue in it whatsoever, and it's an 80-minute movie done by a French guy who was actually approached by Ghibli. So Ghibli approached him, and about 6 to 8 animators from Ghibli helped him out with the film itself, and that's hopefully released by the end of the year. But Kubo in my top 5 easily. Absolutely phenomenal film.
Okay. Captain Fantastic, which is written and directed by Matt Ross, is a story of a family. We have Viggo Mortensen as the father of these 6 children who were introduced to them as they're living out in basically they have kind of like their own private land out in the middle of nowhere, and it's all kind of like a a small, almost like a commune. It's like there's not really anything there modern. It's all kind of run by them, maintaining everything, and they have a routine where when you introduce to them, first off, they've been hunting for a deer, and they all run together in the hunt, sort of like a pact, and it's kind of all centering around this whole thing of him raising these children. The all 6 children, sort of ranging from a sort of a 5-year-old rough age up to a sort of 16-year-old boy, and there's this issue of they're all sort of there wondering what's going on, because we'll hear this clip. We're just going to play this clip, which is early on in the film, and sets up sort of the way that he speaks to them, the way that he's raised them, as you hear them in their dialogue, the way that they all sort of talk, and sort of their upbringing. Here's a clip.
The training is over today. Can we take Steve somewhere for class later?
Maybe.
Why does Mommy have to be gone so long?
She hasn't been gone very long.
Actually, it's been 3 months, 2 weeks, 6 days, and 11 hours.
Mom is very ill.
Don't talk to us like we're your inferiors.
Bo is right. Mom needs to be in the hospital right now.
But you said hospitals are only a great place to go if you're a healthy person and you want to die.
You said Americans are undereducated and over-medicated.
You said that AMA are avaricious whores only tooling to spread their fat legs for Big Pharma.
All of those things are true, but Mom does not have enough of the neurotransmitter serotonin to conduct electrical signals in her brain.
Exactly when is Mom coming back?
That's what I'm going to go find out. Be good, monkey butts.
See you later, Dad. Bye.
Bye, guys.
So he goes to the nearest town, where is the next place that there is actually a phone line. He speaks to people and actually finds, and this isn't a spoiler because this is early on in the film, he finds that his wife has actually killed herself in hospital, and because of this there's the issue of then her a funeral being prepared and taken care of by her parents, who he's not on the best of terms with, and the whole thing of them, because of them being, he's basically being kind of like the word that I was looking for and popped in my head was anti-establishmentarianism, which, if you don't know what that means,
establishmentarianism.
But basically it's for people that are live outside of society. They're not part of society. They have their own thing. They don't follow the rules of society, sort of thing. Not that they're illegal or anything like that, but they're basically people that live. It's almost like he raised his family like a cult. And he ends up basically going on a road trip with his family across the country to then go to her funeral, despite her parents and her father having told him that if he turns up where he's unwanted, then he will be arrested, sort of thing. And it's all about the whole sort of the journey of them getting there, and then when they get there and dealing with that, and the way that they are obviously outsiders, and in a way the way he's kind of prepared them for the world the way he thinks is best, but the question of whether or not, if he is a good parent or not, if he has actually prepared them for the world in which they potentially may live in. And it's an interesting sort of character study of this character, who you get these people who live almost like a hermit outside of contact with the world, and isolated, and he's there with his children who have all been taught to survive in the wilderness, to navigate by the stars. At one point he's having an argument with I don't know who it is exactly, but it's relatives of his that he ends up staying with on the way, and they have their 2 kids who couldn't tell them anything about the Bill of Rights, and he has his kids who he brings down, his 7-year-old, and asks her about the Bill of Rights, and she starts first of all completely reciting it by memory, and then second of all, when he says no, don't recite it, explain it in your own words, and she gives an explanation of it all, which basically completely embarrasses the other parents, because their kids are in school and their kids have no idea about this sort of thing. So it's an interesting weird thing of that, the way that it's written for the characters. The performance by Viggo Mortensen is really good. The real performance that's outstanding is the oldest character, the oldest child, his son, Bo, played by George McKay, is really, really something to watch for, because he's absolutely fantastic. This is
one of the reasons why I want to see the film, because I think George McKay is a fantastic actor.
He is absolutely fantastic in this, because there's a great scene where he basically there's a confrontation between the two of them, because he has been receiving letters to a mailbox, which are all applications for going to colleges and universities, and he ends up having a conversation with his father where he says basically, if it's not in the book, we don't know it, we're not prepared, you haven't prepared us, sort of thing. And he starts to, it's then the whole thing of his father kind of questioning himself and doubting, is he doing the right thing? Has he done the right thing? Is he wrong? Sort of a thing. And it's a real good kind of thing that you start to see that in the performances. You see it in Viggo Mortensen's performance. You can just see there's always this thing of Viggo Mortensen when you look at him, there's always something behind his eyes thinking or what's going on. You never see him and look at him and think he's acting. He's one of these actors who he completely goes into a role and just disappears. And it's a film which is filled with that, with a lot of the characters. Some of the other children are kind of a bit underused, but I think that's partly down to it not being really about them, as it being more about Viggo Mortensen's character, and the children are kind of the tools to get him there, sort of a thing. But it's, I thought, a really well written drama. It's really kind of, it's not an emotional film. It has moments where there's emotions from the characters because they're obviously going to see their mothers, they're going to the funeral, sort of thing. But it's not really a film that is kind of tugging at your heartstrings or anything like that. It doesn't do that. It's just basically showing how these characters are interacting with the world and the outside world for the first time, and how they may not be ready for it. And it's all down to this character, which is, it's an interesting, different sort of look at outsiders.
Right, we'll move on then to Don't Breathe, directed by Fede Alvarez, who brought us 2013's remake of The Evil Dead. Also starring Jane Levy, who appears in this film, who plays Rocky. And then you've got her boyfriend, who's played by Daniel Zavato, who plays Money. And then their friend, Dylan Minette's Alex. Now, they live in a really horrible, rundown part of the city. The money is just really bad, so what Alex's character does is, because his father is police officer, he's able to actually get hold of keys, and so Rocky, Alex and Money burgle people's places. And so at the start of the film we see them in a rich person's place, not sort of like taking money, they take objects, so jewelry, televisions, things like that, and sell them on, because money, according to Alex, is easy to track down. Things like appliances is slightly more harder, and then they make it look like somebody has burgled the house, so it's a burglary which they might ultimately forget. Now they discover that there is a house in the most rundown part of town where there is a veteran in that house, played by Stephen Lang, who got a huge massive payoff from supposedly killing a rich couple's daughter. And so he gets this huge massive payoff of well over $300,000, and Money, Alex and Rocky think, why don't we just burgle him? It's probably the worst idea they've ever had. Here's a clip.
Who's there?
Okay, man, just chill, alright? Look, I was wasted and I wandered in, so that was my bad, alright? So I'm just gonna leave, okay? Stay right there. Don't you move. Yeah, that's right. I know what's in there, and I ain't leaving without it. You got me? Now you do as I say, all right? Well, do you hear me or what? I said stop. Don't you move. What are you gonna do now, huh? Huh? Stop!
How many of you are there?
So, as you can probably guess, the situation for the three goes from being adulation from getting like $300,000 to being a nightmare to being the worst night of their life. Now, the way the film pans out is, I noticed a mistake about 3-4 minutes into the movie. There is a scene where you see Rocky in the car with Money in the front seat beside her. She smoked a cigarette. She passes the cigarette over to Money, and then she's instantly got the cigarette in her hand again. And it was just a mistake that my brain noticed straight away, because I was the only person in the screening of this when I went to see it. Yeah, it was Friday morning, so it was the first screening on a Friday morning, so I didn't expect anybody else to be in the screening. Kubo also, I was the only person in the screening of as well, but that was Friday lunchtime, because I saw them in a double bill with each other. I know, very interesting double bill. But yeah, that was a mistake that I noticed, and it sort of like lingered in my brain throughout the film, and it was affecting my judgment of the movie a tiny little bit when I was going through the movie. And then when there is a mistake in the movie, it's a continuity error, because it's alluded to that Stephen Lang's character of the blind man, of the veteran himself, with him not being able to see, he's got a heightened sense of hearing, he's got a heightened sense of smell. And there's a scene in the film about halfway through it where he noticed that there's an extra set of shoes in the kitchen, because what the three characters do to stop them being heard, even though they are really loud when they're creaking around the house, is to take off their shoes. And so he notices that by smelling it. And about 15 minutes into the film, after you've had the scene from that clip there, you see Dylan Minette's character sort of like see the blind man and then step him back against the wall while the blind man walks past. If his heightened sense of smell is that good, he would have noticed him straight away, instantly. So it was just I was going back to that and thinking continuity error is affecting the film, and it did affect the film a little bit. There's also a situation in the last third which didn't need to be shown. It could have been alluded to rather than being shown, and I think the film would have been much more atmospheric, much better. And it goes into the gruesome territory in the last third, which I didn't mind. A few critics have been looking at going, I didn't need that, but I didn't mind it, and it actually made me swear at a dog. I'm a big fan of animals and films, and I hate it when I see an animal die. I wanted this dog to die. It was that bad. But the film itself is very well constructed. It is tense, not tense enough for me, because it's been a while since I've seen a movie where I'm gripping the edges of the seats. But it's still very well constructed. It's a step up from Evil Dead, because I thought Evil Dead was a bit of a miss movie, even though it's got a few decent elements in it. So overall, it's definitely worth watchable. It didn't meet the hype that I had in my mind, and I'm hoping the Blair Witch, when we review it on next week's show, that does meet the hype. But overall, it's still a very well constructed, very well made film.
Okay, Anthropoid, which I went into, is written and directed by Sean Ellis. It's a film that I went into knowing very little about what it was about, apart from that it had Cillian Murphy and Jamie Dornan in it. And it's based on the true story of Operation Anthropoid, which during World War II was a mission by a couple of men who were sent back into Czechoslovakia, occupied Czechoslovakia, to assassinate the number 3 man in Hitler's army, in the Nazis. And you had the two characters, of course, being played by Cillian Murphy and Jamie Dornan, playing these two men that went through and did this sort of mission, and it's basically centering on them as they first of all arrive there and then sneak around to find their contacts within what there is left of the resistance in the town, because it has been basically almost wiped out by the Nazis, and by in particular this third man, General Reinhard Heydrich, who became known as the Butcher of Prague. Here's a clip.
What is your mission?
Operation Anthropoid.
Anthropoid?
What is Anthropoid?
We are here to assassinate SS Obergruppenführer Reinhard Heydrich.
Are you completely mad?
We have our orders.
But this is madness.
We have our orders, comrade.
Heydrich? Why stop with Heydrich? Why not have a go at Hitler as well? He's only 300 kilometers down the road in a small village called Berlin.
So we inform London that you are refusing to cooperate with our mission.
How dare you question us? How dare you question us? You know what we have sacrificed for the cause here?
But you have sacrificed for the Czechoslovakia sacrifice!
You have no idea what the Czechoslovakia. You kill Heydrich, and Hitler will tear Prague apart.
So So you have this film, which is one of these obviously true story things, but the thing is about it is that it is, I think it's British and Czechoslovakian made. A lot of it's filmed in real locations, and in particular, reading about it afterwards, I found there's scenes that were filmed of someone being tortured in the location where the person they're playing was actually really tortured. So it's got a lot of kind of realism to that. I don't think out of them going, we need to film this. I think it's out of them going there and finding, on probably a limited budget, what they can and can't do, and linking it in with what, trying to be as faithful as they could to real things. It's a film that you can tell it has got a strained budget, but it does a lot with what it has, I think. You have great performances from Cillian Murphy, especially. Jamie Dornan is okay at times, has great moments, and at times has weak moments. But the thing is that is interesting about it is the way it's kind of shown them getting there, planning the operation, and then the aftermath of that. And it's a real kind of, at times I thought, kind of stretching a little bit into almost TV movie, but it never quite goes there. It still does have, it's not a big cinematic kind of blockbuster thing. It's a film that's been done sometimes out of necessity, the way it's been filmed and the way it's been shot, but it's done with an air of respectfulness to it being a true story. It's never kind of glamorized up. It never has any of the Hollywoodized, never had a sort of a Michael Bay-ish sort of thing or anything like that happens to it. It's all done as a really good low down thriller and couple of action bits and stuff, and that being in there, it never kind of glamorizes things, but it doesn't shy away from the horrors of a Nazi occupied Czechoslovakia, and it's a really well developed, really engrossing film that by the end of it you will kind of like be, wow, I didn't see that. Obviously you could look into it and find out what happened and everything, but you shouldn't, because you'll walk into it and you'll come out and you'll go, wow, I didn't expect that. I thought it was quite well, and I really thought it was a really nicely handled, small, kind of small independent film, which I really liked about it. It had this feel. There is, we were talking about it during the clip there, another film coming out based on the book of the story, which is H, capital H, lowercase h, capital H. It's a weird title, but I don't know the meaning of that in particular. But that's being made, and Jack O'Connell is in that, which will be out next year. And I have a feeling that's kind of been made a lot more bigger budget, that kind of a thing, which it might be just as well, but I don't necessarily think it's going to have the same kind of connection that this will have, because it's probably going to be a lot more Hollywood styled and visually styled, that it won't have this kind of grippingness to it.
Yeah, I think they're actually going to concentrate more on the Heinrich character in HHHH. It's going to be about his life, and I think O'Connell is playing General Heinrich in Heydrich. Sorry, he's going to be playing him in it, if I remember correctly. So that's what that movie is going to mainly centre around him, rather than like the ultimate assassination, or the attempted assassination on him. Yeah,
this film doesn't really have his character in it that much. His is basically a plot point, but that's the point of it. It's more about these men and them going through it and them dealing with it and doing it, and the whole thing of them, what they put their lives on the line for and stuff. And it's really kind of, it's a really impressive. It feels a lot more respectful in that respect, I think.
Yeah, whereas HHHH is sort of like seeing it from the flip side. So very much like what Flags of the Clint Eastwood Flags of Father, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't know this for sure. We don't know this for certain, but it's a film. I mean, and the thing is, this film, it has some great tension scenes. There's a great scene where Cillian Murphy is there, and the two of them have gone to a party dance thing where they've met a girl that they've already met and a friend she's brought along, and basically the two of them sitting there, and Cillian Murphy's character basically chastises them for saying, why have you come along wearing lipstick and all dressed up? And he says, the purpose of us being here like this is to be incognito and not be seen. Look around you. And they look around, and all these men and the officers and Nazi officers that are sitting there are all looking over at them, because they're sitting with these absolutely gorgeous, all dolled up women. And he says, you're making us visible. We need to be invisible. And it's that kind of thing, of the tension of that comes through very well and throughout the entire film.
Right, we'll move into an ad break and we'll be back with the Blu-ray and DVD section.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And we're back with this week's DVD and Blu-ray releases in the home release section, which we'll get onto these new films in just a moment.
Yeah, 3 films. Comedy Bad Neighbours 2. So it's neighbours from Australia being bad. We wish actually it might have made a more interesting film. It's not. It's a sequel to Bad Neighbours, or Neighbours as it's known as in America. Then we'll end off with 2 sort of like dramas. One musical based in I Saw the Light, and one more closer to home in thriller Our Kind of Traitor.
Yeah, which is, I think, John le Carré, isn't it?
It's based on a John le Carré novel,
yeah. Of course, though, as usual, DVD and Blu-ray top 10. So we'll get through that quickly. Starting off at number 10.
Before we get into top 10, remember it's the new little thing that I had. We'll have a quick little look at where the other films that were reviewed on last week's show made in the top 10. Didn't review very many films in the Blu-ray DVD section. As a matter of fact, over the last few weeks, it's been very lax. We're only going to start seeing a trickle of more films over the next few weeks, but the missing film from the top 10, and in fact the top 100, what we reviewed last week, is Sharknado 4. There's no surprise. It didn't make the top 100 at all. And it's awful.
Oh, what a shame.
I know.
Yeah. Number 10, new entry for Barbie Starlight Adventure. Which
you should be glad that we didn't review this on last week's show. I think they're selling this for £5 in one of the supermarkets, so that's why it's at number 10.
Yeah, number 9 is Zootropolis.
We said absolutely everything we can about Zootropolis.
And I actually picked it up finally because I wanted to get it, so I did pick it up. And
I haven't bought a Blu-ray or DVD since I bought Ponyo on Blu-ray about 2 months ago. But I know I was in a Disney shop, and the Zootropolis the toys and stuff like that were on special offer. They were half price because they just can't sell, and so it actually was. There's a slight problem that I had with the film. It's just the characters are not memorable enough.
Number 8 is The Huntsman: Winter's War.
Terrible sequel, terrible prequel.
Yeah, all in one. Number 7, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
I felt exactly the same way of the theatrical cut as I did with the Ultimate Edition. I still think the film is average at best, even though the Ultimate cut adds a few scenes, which is quite important. Especially there is a few little sections of the film which is really important, and I still question why they were taken out of the theatrical cut, but it's still average at best.
Number 6 is new entry for Captain America 3-movie collection, which we'll get to in just a moment.
Yep.
Number 5 is TV box set Arrow: The Complete 4th Season. So you haven't been watching Arrow, have you?
I think I've seen one episode, and that was the first ever episode of season 1.
Yeah, I like the series, but it's getting a bit. That's not the best one. But number 4, new entry for Thomas and Friends: The Great Race.
Yeah. I remember listening to Mark Kermode's review of Thomas and Friends in the Great Race, and I thought I'm gonna be hearing like an ear-shattering rant, and he actually thought the film was average, which shocked me. It didn't make me want to watch it though. We haven't reviewed it.
New entry at number 3 for Florence Foster Jenkins.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film. I was trying to persuade Stuart to review it on last week's show, but he didn't watch it because he was reluctant to watch a music movie. But it's just a 3-pronged performance, which is just it needs it. Meryl Streep is fantastic as Florence Foster Jenkins, and then you've got Hugh Grant, who's just pretty much in his best form in this one. I'm not much of a fan of his, but I think he just plays Byfield as brilliant in this movie. And then you've got, and I forgot his name. I know
Simon
Helberg. Yeah, you've got him as well, and he's also fantastic. And the movie needs those 3 characters to feed off each other, and they do brilliantly in the movie. And I really, really like Florence Foster Jenkins.
Dropping down from number 1 and number 2 is The Jungle Book.
And I wonder why it dropped from the number 1 spot.
Are we surprised? Are we surprised?
Yeah. No. The Jungle Book is how you should make a live-action version of an animated classic. It has the feel of the animated classic. Even though the musical numbers are slightly cringing because they've got two actors who don't have the best singing voice to actually do it, but you can sort of look at it and think, that adds a little bit extra element to it, and it adds a little bit of cringe to the film. But overall, it's got the feel and heart of the animated feature, but also brings its own initiative to it, which is how it should have been done in Cinderella. But it just didn't happen with Cinderella. With the Jungle Book and hoping with Beauty and the Beast, it did.
Okay, so the number one movie is, of course, Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah, which is no surprise at all that it went to number one. It's a movie that, even though it's got the name Captain America in it, it feels like Avengers Part 3 rather than a Captain America film. That's sort of like having a slight quibble with the movie, because it's one of the better superhero films. This is coming from a person who just doesn't get them, to be honest, who just doesn't think that they're entertaining, who just thinks that they're stringed together by set pieces with a few quips in between and a little bit of dramatic bit and then another set piece, and then ultimately the last set piece has to be this huge massive explosive thing. A lot of superhero movies has followed that, and so this does pretty much the same in that front there. There are a ton of characters in the movie, but I think the Russo brothers show that they can handle a lot of characters and still give them enough screen time to feel for them, and also they're able to introduce characters into a movie and give them a sort of like a backstory without feeling like you've seen it before. Hint, hint, Batman vs Superman. So yeah, I thought the film was good, very good. But again, it's never going to change my mind and make me absolutely adore superhero movies.
Okay, so moving on then to this week's limited number of releases we have, starting off with Bad Neighbours 2, or if you're in America, it was titled Neighbours 2 Sorority Rising. The reason being that is a follow on from the previous film. You have the characters of Mac and Kelly, played by Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, after having got rid of the fraternity next door to them. In the previous film, everything seems to be going fine for them. They're actually getting ready to sell their house. They have a new baby on the way, along with their daughter they've got there already, and things seem to be going fine. The house is all up for sale and somebody's bought it, and they're told then they have an escrow period of 30 days, during which basically if the people come along that have made the offer on the house and see something they don't like, they can just cancel out and back out the deal. Of course, things seem to be going fine for them until, of course, in the house next door, which is now empty and vacant, there's a group of girls there looking to start up another kind of thing, basically of a sorority, the female version of a fraternity. Thrown into the mix again is the character of Teddy, played by Zac Efron, who is basically finding himself to be the only person sort of amongst his friends who hasn't moved forward with his life a bit, and finds himself after a sort of a difficult night with his friend Dave Franco from the first film, where he's kind of moved on and Teddy hasn't. Teddy finds himself sort of woken up in the house when these girls have turned up, the leader of them being played by Chloe Grace Moretz, playing Shelby, who is kind of looking at the house as an option. Here's a clip.
You guys thinking about renting this place?
Maybe.
What do you guys want with such a big house?
We're starting our own sorority outside the system that can totally do whatever it wants. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like throw dope-ass parties and totally rage.
A sorority that can party?
Kappa Nu.
What's wrong with fraternity parties?
Okay, what is it?
I mean, we threw great parties here. Pimps and hoes, CEOs and corporate hoes, Boise boys and Idahos.
They're like super sexist. Every party is like themed hoe.
I mean, oh, jeez. Oh, no. Oh, God. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see your point.
So you have this whole thing of then the sorority moves in, and the main character then trying to figure out what they're going to do and the problems they have of obviously keeping this quiet until the house is sold. Now, here's the thing with the first film. I saw it. I wasn't massively loving it, but I enjoyed it, and I had a laugh with it. I gotta admit, I enjoyed this more than the first film, and the reason, let me explain why I enjoyed it more, is because it has an air of kind of having grown up a bit since the first film, because you have the whole thing of the characters. You have, I really like the fact that they take one of the characters from the previous film and actually change them and actually make them out that they've turned out to be a gay character, and they come out, and it's the whole thing of growing up and realising that and working out and moving on with their lives and to the next step and thing. And I thought that was really clever, because it seems to be the whole thing of the one of the things the film covers all about is the fact of this character of Teddy, who hasn't moved on, hasn't grown up, and hasn't really decided what he's going to do with his life and such, and find something to do. And you have the characters of Mac and Kelly, who are basically in the same situation again, but then finding themselves in the situation of they've got to figure out what to do, otherwise they're going to be stuck in the situation. They can't move on to the next step, they can't move on to the next place of their life. And I thought it was kind of nice the way that was handled. I thought it was genuinely funny. It had some moments that it did make me laugh for the minimum 6 number of laughs, and especially some great callbacks to the first film, and the jokes and some references to that. There's a great thing in there as well. I loved some of the stupid bits, like the sorority moving in and having all the new pledges dress up like minions and acting like minions, and some kind of minion spoof things, which just made me laugh anyway as well. But I thought it was perfectly fine. I said I enjoyed it more than the first one. I was pleasantly surprised by that. I thought it was going to be more the same, and in a way it is, but as I say, it's kind of like it's growing up a little bit, and I thought that was kind of nice, and I thought that was kind of clever.
See, for me, the film is just pretty much exactly the same. It rehashes jokes from the first film. The worst thing is it rehashes the airbag joke, where the airbag joke was told like 3 times, maybe 4 times in the first film, and it's told a couple of times in this one, and it's fine seeing it once, seeing it twice it starts to grate on you, seeing it like 6 times overall in both films. It's just like, is that the best you can do? It relies on a few little sort of gross out humour jokes as well, and also alludes to the fact that Zac Efron's character is thick beyond belief, but then sort of like shows that there is somebody out there which is even more dumber than he is, which there is a friend of Seth Rogen's character. He's just, when he dresses up as a clown, he just shows you how just gaga cuckoo he is. But I do like the introduction of the Dave Franco character, the fact that he has forwarded himself, and instead of making gross, lewd jokes about him, they only hint at it slightly, which is well done for them, because they could have used the lowest common denominator with comedy and made like really bad quips about him and all that kind of stuff. But it's sort of like, the way you look at it, it's banter between both characters rather than just him absolutely hounding him about it.
Yeah, it feels genuine, doesn't it? It's the fact that it feels as if it's a real kind of bromance in a way, so and it feels genuine.
It's nice for them to actually take that tact. It's not going to set the world on fire, but it's not a movie that I hated. I didn't reach my 4 laughs. But I didn't reach 4 laughs in the first film either. I think I reached exactly the same. So it was about 2, maybe 2.5 laughs. So yeah, it's pretty much the same kind of stuff. If you didn't like the first film, you're not going to like this one. It's not going to change your mind at all. If you like the first one, then it's pretty much exactly the same. It's Bad Neighbours 1.5 rather than a follow-on sequel for me. Our Kind of Traitor, completely changing feel and tone. We're going into drama thriller territory in the fact that it's based on a John le Carré novel. It's directed by Susanna White, and it centres around the character of Perry, played by Ewan McGregor, and his girlfriend, Gail, or wife, played by Naomi Harris. You can sort of like get the tension at the start of the film that there is a problem with them. They're on holiday in Morocco, and she decides to go off, and he's left in a bar, and he's accosted over by this Russian guy who's played by Stellan Skarsgård, who plays the character of Dima, and sort of like asks him if I can read your card, and if I know the number off your card, then you stay with me and you come out with me, and if not, I'll give you £5,000. And so he ultimately is able to do this trick, and so he ends up going off with him. The next day he plays a tennis match, and we start to find out why Dima is wanting to speak with Perry. He asks him, can he do him a favour? Will he be able to take this pen drive to the government in the UK to be able to sort of like release some sensitive information that will take people down, important people down, show them for exactly who they are. Because we discover that there is ties to Russian mobs and things like that. Here's a clip.
I said I didn't want my wife involved.
I'm sorry, would you like to wait outside?
Involved in what?
I brought something over for Dima.
What?
I don't know.
Perhaps you'd like to sit down. I have some questions. Not tough, medium soft. Is this all he gave you?
Yeah.
Didn't offer you any money?
Oh, he did, but I refused.
Then why did you bring it?
I thought it was the right thing to do. He said that his children would be killed if I didn't.
You believed him?
He seemed scared.
He told you he was a member of the Russian mafia. And you still agreed to help him. You haven't checked the contents of the memory stick.
No, I thought I could just hand it over and be done with it. I thought that would be it, you know?
So in that clip there, you heard Damian Lewis's character, and it's up to Perry and Gale to team up with Damian Lewis's character to try and find a resolution to the problem that Dima has got, because he holds some very important information. As a matter of fact, again, my brain went into sort of like Don't Breathe territory, where I noticed slight continuity error. Because the start of the film, you've got that trick that Dima is able to do with Perry's credit card, being able to actually remember the numbers, and you would instantly think that Perry would twig on a little bit later on into the film that he's able to do that, and so where the information is not going to obviously be on the pen drive, it's going to be in the brain of Dima, but he never twigs that on in that, and I'm thinking, you idiot. It's there. It was there for you to actually figure that out. Apart from that little quibble, though, again, it was just the way my brain was working today, because I watched it today. The film itself is actually very well handled. It's not overly tense, but I don't think ultimately that's how the film wanted to be played out, because I think Perry is a bit of a dumb character. I think his character is a bit stupid. There is a couple of times where he's in a way trying to pick a fight with a guy who will just instantly rip off his head and do horrible things to him. But yeah, it's a silly character, yet his wife is sort of like much more level-headed. And I think Stellan Skarsgård as Dima as well is very well played. He sort of like brings malevolence even if he was reading a spot book. Skarsgård, I think he's able to actually do that. And you heard the whimsical nature of sorts with Damian Lewis's character just in there, and so when he's questioning him, it's not going to be that tough, just a little bit kind of thing, and it's nice to add that little bit, those little elements into the film itself. But overall, it's acted very well. It's very nicely shot. It's got some really good camera work in it. For example, there is a scene where you do see Dima just getting a chaperone kind of thing in loads of vehicles, and the camera pans to this monkey just holding up something on a telegraph line, and I think that's sort of like in a way an allegorical thing for Dima's character, and I think that's little touches like that sort of like elevate the movie a little bit more. So the cinematography is done really well, and overall the film itself is actually interesting. It doesn't oversteer its welcome, but it gives you enough to actually latch onto the characters and think that the story itself is interesting.
Okay, last film of the evening is the biopic I Saw the Light, which is partly written by Mark Abram and directed by him. It's based on a book by Colin S. Scott, and it's the biopic of the country western singer Hank Williams, who... not spoiler or anything, but it's the fact that I wasn't aware of, and died at the young age of 29, and created a sort of a legend for himself up to that age. It's a film which has Tom Hiddleston playing Hank Williams. You have in there as well, amongst all sort of the cast, you have Elizabeth Olsen, who plays his wife, or his wife early on, and you also have in there people like Bradley Whitford, who plays his manager at one point, and you have the film which has this weird thing of that it's telling sequences in his life, but also then cuts back and forth between that happening and these kind of they're black and white and different framed interview sequences, which are, it's a thing of that they're not interviews with the real people, they're interviews with actors playing the real people. So it's done kind of like a documentary, but oddly in a way very much like you had The Fifth Estate with Benedict Cumberbatch playing
Julian Assange.
Yeah, Julian Assange, and you had Julian Assange. You had the interview with him at the end, playing Julian Assange in the interview rather than showing the actual Julian Assange interview. You just had him replaying that. It's kind of like that in the way that it's done, but interspersed throughout the film, and telling the story of him as he sort of went through getting sort of business and getting a job in singing with a group, and then being signed to do performances and being able to sort of create records, and at one point, even as we hear in this clip, being offered a role to kind of go into acting like a lot of other sort of music stars at the time.
I saw your press release announcing our deals. You fellas played it up nicely.
We were generally pleased with the response.
Well, we're thinking of a part for Hank in Small Town Girls with Farley Granger and Jane Powell.
My wife loves Jane Powell.
Perfect. So does America. Yeah. And as we discussed, Fred, that would be no more than 4 weeks' work.
Right.
And a salary of $4,500 a week. That's quite a lot of money, isn't it?
It's not as much cash as I can make on the road. Is it, Pepe?
Well, I'm sure between Fred and I, we can come to an arrangement if we're all serious.
So here's the thing with I Saw the Light. I am not a fan of country western music. In fact, it's probably my least favourite music aside from rap music. And so you have this thing of that it's doing all these scenes with Tom Hiddleston doing a great performance and Elizabeth Olsen doing a great performance, and you have these scenes there interspersed, and then it cuts to moments of him actually on stage singing, or in studio singing, or doing a song on stage somewhere in a small bar or something like that. And that's the problem is for me, is that I didn't really connect with it, because I'm not into that kind of music. I think that it has got a film that if you are a fan of Hank Williams, if you're a fan of country and western genre, then you will find a lot more to it you're liking. You can tell the one thing, because I was listening to another review that I heard of it when it came out in the cinema, and one thing that was said is that it has got that feeling of when being able to buy the actor is the one that's doing the singing when it comes to the singing parts, and of which there are many singing parts, many songs sung throughout it, and you can tell that it is Tom Hiddleston singing. You get the slight twinges in his voice. You can tell it's him doing the singing himself, and not just him coming along and then they've replaced him with the real Hank Williams or with someone else singing it. So it's a great performance from Hiddleston because of the fact that he's really gone into it. He's gone all out. He's done the singing. He's really pushed himself to do that, and it's a good drama for the rest of the parts. Just for me, I didn't get into it. I didn't have that connection because I don't like the music. It's not for me.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be the one for me as well. So
yeah, it's a shame, because I mean, if it was about something that was maybe to do with rock, I would enjoy it and I'd know it more and it would be my thing. It's just that I just find that no connection, no interest for me in that music. So that's a problem for me. But if you're a fan, maybe it will work for you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for this week's DVD section. We're going to have a moment we'll go through in TV movies of the week. But I'm going to do the shout-outs now, because I'm decided I'm going to do it now. If you are looking for us, places you can find us, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. Twitter, you can find us at Monday Movie Show. Stuart's on there as well, at Cryptic Tadpole. I'm on there at AHDVD. Not often, but I am on there. And you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. And there's also other places you can listen to, other shows you can check out. Following the Gamer, as Stuart has already mentioned in the show.
Yep.
Which has your next episode will be probably Saturday, I'm guessing.
No, we did one last
That's
night.
what last night it was. So next weekend after.
It'll be on my birthday, actually, the next one.
Subtle.
That's a brilliant birthday present, that, isn't it?
Followingthenerds.com, which is where there's the website which has got basically anything nerd related, and the show will be hosted on there normally each week. And also from page2screen.com, as you heard in the advert during the middle of the show, which has the from page to screen shows and the British show, which I think Stuart is starting doing back again now, isn't he?
Yeah, I know he's got like a lot of things going on at the moment, moving, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But check out his website, he'll be able to give you the latest information on that. Okay, on to then TV movies of the week.
I've got 2.
Okay, I've got more than that. Ooh.
I'm not surprised. I'm being I'm actually trying to cut back on them. So a runner-up and overall TV movie of the week, so I've got 2. Alright,
well, I'll do mine then. Do you do mine first? Yeah. Okay. I'll do them in order because my choices at the end of the week. But Friday the 16th on Film 4, 10:50 p.m. You're Next.
That is my movie of the week.
Which I really enjoyed it because I did see it at the cinema, which is rare for me to see that kind of thing. But I thought it was really inventive, really nice, and it was a good low-budget thriller horror thing. It's not really a horror, but it's a slasher thriller film.
The reason why they're showing it is because Blair Witch is out on Thursday, and it's directed by the same director, Adam Wingate.
And I thought he did a really good job with this, so I really it was quite inventive for a small film that it is. But then if that's not to your taste, Saturday the 17th on More 4 at 9 o'clock is Braveheart, the Mel Gibson 90s. Is it 90s? It's 90s.
Yeah.
Sort of drama about the Scottish Rebellion. And then on Sunday is 2 films, and now one of them is on E4 at 9 o'clock, and that's Fast and Furious 5, which is I think the best still of the Fast and Furious films. That's the one in Rio, with the first kind of bank heist one, which was really a nice change to things. But my movie of the week, TV movie of the week, is on the same night, Film 4, 10:50 p.m, and that's Heat, which is Michael Mann's thriller with the first appearance of De Niro and Pacino against each other as cop and criminal. And it's a long film, so it's basically a 3-hour film with advert breaks. Will probably take you through into the wee small hours, but if you've never seen it, or even if you have, it's worth seeing. Personally, I think that Collateral is Michael Mann's best film, but this is really, really up there. A lot of people think it's his best film, but I really do like it, and it's a great film.
Well, I can change my TV movie of the week on the fly. So my runner-up, my mention, is on ITV4 on Wednesday the 14th at 11 o'clock at night is Senna, the Yusuf Kapadi documentary about Ayrton Senna.
Good choice.
It's a fantastic documentary, so it definitely needs to watch up. But I was originally going to go for Your Next as my TV movie of the week. But
well, you still can.
I'm actually, because you mentioned it, there is a movie on straight after it as well. I was tempted to make that my TV movie of the week, but I was going to mention it in with Your Next, and that's Rec 2. Because I love the Rec series, well, especially the first 2. The third one's not very good, the fourth one is okay. But the second one is, if you want to watch a movie that's extremely tense, then watch Rec 2, because it is stupidly tense, that movie. I think it is one of the most tense films I've ever seen, to be honest. So it's the first Rec, but I think they ramp up the tension in the second one. It is very well constructed. Shaky cam, if you don't like shaky cam, then you're going to vomit all over the place, because it is that kind of film. But definitely worth a see. And it's on straight after Your Next, so make it a double bill.
Okay, so that's TV movie of the week, or movies of the week. Movie of the week.
Kubo and the Two Strings, easily.
Mine is Hell or High Water, although I'm definitely going to say, have a look at Captain Fantastic and Anthropoid as well, because they were very, very good films.
Kubo and I think you might have.
I haven't seen that Kubo yet.
Made Kubo and the Two Strings your movie of the week, but I did easily for me. Even though I really like Don't Breathe, I think Kubo and the Two Strings is just really difficult to top.
I'll have to try and see it. Okay, that's it for this week's show. We'll be back next week. Check mondaymovieshow.co.uk to confirm when we'll be, because the day does fluctuate and move around. But we'll be back next week, including reviews of things such as The Infiltrator with Bryan Cranston, taking a role of a true story man who basically went undercover to try and trace and sort of arrest drug dealers in the 80s. I think I date it, so. But again, obviously, Bryan Cranston. So do you need a reason other than that? Not really. So we'll leave you with a clip for that until next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanos says Don Chepe's $10 million is frozen, which is actually Pablo Escobar's money, and he doesn't give a rat's ass that our government did it. He wants his money, and it's not going to be over until he gets it.
There's a Senate investigation into Noriega. You're not getting money that went through Panama. Frozen is frozen. Accept it.
Mark, it's f***ing up our operation.
We need you to fix this for us.
How am I going to fix this? You want me to call Senator Kerry? Hey, John, could you drop your investigation that the president has sanctioned? Because my friend Bob's getting really upset. Reagan wants Noriega's ass. Are you listening to me?
Hey, you know what Alcaino said? That's not an answer that keeps you alive, my friend. Okay?
Hey, what did he say that for? No, wait a second. Hold on. Did he threaten you?
No.
Did he put your neck in the noose?
Yeah, and he's squeezing.
No, he didn't. Roberto didn't say that. He wouldn't say that.
It's Escobar.
No, wait a second. Bob, are you in danger from Pablo Escobar if his money doesn't come through?